Helping others helps you. Let me say that again. Helping others helps you. To help us explore that statement today, I have got with me again my dear friend who is a leader, a lawyer, and a Georgetown grad, my friend Laura Puccini, who has so much experience to share on this topic of how helping, particularly in business, actually helps us in a lot of ways. And before, Laura, welcome. Let me just say that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And I want to say that when you and I had this conversation about potentially doing this conversation, I always have to stand in the honesty with myself, being, a decade older than you. I really came out of a deeply competitive corporate world as a young person. And when I first started trying to rationalize helping when I was supposed to be in competition to get the next thing, I was confused, admittedly.
Yeah.
And the whole concept of giving when I didn't, I saw myself as not having very much. I have a Catholic joke on myself that I never understood how come I was supposed to give money at church when the priest lived in a bit better house than I did. It was just something that, I really personally had a hard time with this concept between the scarcity mentality I had and the whole concept around competition. It was a tough row. Right. And, you represent for me the evolution and the generations and how this has all changed. So using Muhammad Ali's line that service to others is the rent that we pay for room here on this earth.
I love that.
Isn't it? And, a local leader in our community, a female, used that quote during a speech recently, and it really just sat in my heart. And I feel that that's a good way for us to start this.
Yeah.
So helping others, particularly in business.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I think and thank you, Andrea. I'm always excited to have these conversations with you. I never know where they'll end. I know where we think we're going to start, and where they end is always so interesting to me. Yep. But this is something I could talk about for hours. But when you talked about earlier in your career, I have to admit that in the earlier parts of your career, there's probably more of that sense of scarcity or lack because you really are starting out. Yes. But if you really look at life as sort of a continuum, when you help others, chances are they're going to remember that in the future and they may help you. So someone that you took for granted, that you stopped and helped them, organize their papers right before a really important presentation when everyone else ran out of the room. People will remember things like that. For me personally, I learned from doing that VIA survey that you had me do, learning about my values
in action.
Yeah, values in action. I learned that my top value is kindness. So it's probably no surprise that being kind to others is really important to me. And as you know, I have daily affirmations. And one of those is that when I help others grow and win, I grow and win. And I really believe it. I just think it's really important. So it's kind of part of my DNA, but
yes, it is. That is, and I'm glad you're saying that, because in fact, when it comes up in your values that way, it is part of your DNA.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you're weak. Being kind and helping others doesn't mean you're weak. I think it's important that it comes from a sincere place, but I won't lie. It has helped me in my career. My kindness to others has helped me in my career, even when I didn't expect it. When I look at the different ways that I think you can help others in the workplace, so we're not talking about, volunteering with a charity or being on a board or a leadership or giving money, although all of those are great. And at different times in your life, you can only donate money. Other times you have the time to donate your time. Don't beat yourself up if you can only do one or the other because of everything else in your life. But to me, there are a couple of categories I kind of came up with. And one of them was see the light in others. And it's you meet someone that you're working with and you see that light, the light is on and their potential, and they don't see it.
Right.
And so you kind of encourage them over and over,
Mhm.
to see what you see. And I
Correct.
have an example. I was working, I was actually general counsel of a healthcare company back on the East Coast. And there was a woman on my team who was amazing, and did compliance work. And I thought, she is so talented, she should go to law school. She was in her 40s and she thought I'd lost my mind. So I kept saying to her, I think you should go to law school. I think it would be amazing. And, talking to her, I'd like to think that I had a big part in her actually going to law school. She ended up becoming a successful lawyer on the
Beautiful.
East Coast. And, I'm proud of that, but I'm also
Yes.
happy for her because I feel like it showed her that she could do, things that she believed in.
Well,
So,
and I think it's also important that age, that mentality, we have so many artificial barriers in our brain.
yes. Yeah.
Mine was, that I was in a competitive environment and how can I both be, helping others and succeed? And there's only so many jobs to go around.
Right.
And then age, oh my
Right.
gosh.
Right. But you could go to law school in your 40s. You can,
Yes,
because
you can
you've
go to
got
law
lots of
school
good
in your
years
50s,
ahead
you
of
can
you.
go to law school in your 60s. It is amazing what you could
Yes.
do.
Yes. I went
Yeah.
to law school with my 7th grade Western civilization teacher. She
Oh,
was going into a second phase of her life. Her husband had passed away and she was going into a new phase, and we studied together. The weirdest thing in the world to study
yes,
with your 7th grade Western Civ teacher, but I did, and she ended out doing phenomenally. So it can happen.
that's
Another
beautiful.
one,
Now,
yeah,
so, what you're speaking about is a lot, like another part of my work with the ageless edge and the mindset stuff, but stay with this for a moment. Do you have
yeah,
another example of how in our business, the quote unquote competitive world, an act of kindness,
yes, yep,
helped?
yeah,
Because what you spoke about, the feeling, how it made you feel so good that you
yeah,
wanted to be the light in someone else. That is one of the proven science of
right,
this,
right, right,
that these are the feelings, that's how it helps you. Because the
yes,
more you have those feelings, you then want to do it more. And
right.
in essence, you're helping yourself stay inspired to do more.
Right. And you're inspiring them because you believe
Yes,
in them.
correct.
They feel inspired. They may then want to do something for someone else, or
Yep.
they may tell people in their lives, do you know that so and so helped me do this or that? And that could inspire those people. So jumping ahead, I have a quote too. This one I actually love. It's just as ripples spread out when a single pebble is dropped in the water, the actions of individuals can have far-reaching effects. And that's the Dalai Lama. And so to me, the first pebble is the first act of kindness, and it just goes out and out and out. And you've got people shadowing good behavior. You've got role models for everyone else. And it's like a Breck commercial that I saw when I was younger, where it's so on and so on. It just keeps adding on and on. So
Well, and
it's the
I've got
power
a
is
story
great.
to share on that. So when my
Yeah.
husband was a huge, corporate executive and the CEO of publicly traded companies, he had a lot of scoundrels that reported to him. I mean, I've been spelling out scoundrels my whole life, and he had a bunch. But I found this very interesting. He had an enormous respect for his employees, those who worked with and for him. It was really, I mean, I didn't have it. I'm not going to kid you. He taught me about that aspect. But what I kept noticing when it came to how publicly kind he was to me and how respectful he was to me, I started noticing that a bunch of these people that I classified, right or wrong, as scoundrels, they were doing that with their spouses. Now, they may have only been doing it in public, but that ripple effect, and
Yeah.
that whole thing about fake it till you make it, that sometimes, like, maybe my giving didn't start from a sincere place. Like, maybe I learned the science, and the science said, this will help you.
Right.
But you know what? It was going to help me whether I believed it or not.
Right. And help them. Right. Right.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
So, that little cycle of how this works whether we participate in it or
Right.
not.
And
So do you
I've
have
been,
another
yeah.
example?
I do. And I wanted to just say, everyone's a leader to somebody. It doesn't
Yes.
matter if you're in the early stages of your career. If you model behavior where
Yep.
you show respect, you could be an entry-level employee and the custodian walks by and you say, hello, how are you? Good morning. And you show respect. People around you are going to learn from that example and say,
Correct.
at this company, we treat everyone with respect because I saw Susan do that. And so
Correct.
I'm going to do that as well. So definitely. Another area is sort of helping someone find their voice. And that
Yes.
applies a lot to my career, because the last couple of years of my career have been going to a lot of events where I might be speaking or somebody else might be speaking. And I love to speak at events. I'm an extrovert by nature, but sometimes you have to step aside and let others speak or present. And you have to be there to champion for them. It can be helping them. Another thing is to use the skills that you have to help others. So because I'm very comfortable with public speaking, I
Correct.
will help others. And I've had several colleagues, mostly female colleagues along the way, who have gotten a new job where they're going to have to be speaking. And I will actually offer, and I've done this, to go through their speech with them, to listen to it and give input, to have them just say it to me, whether it's over the phone or in person, and just practice. And I've also offered to be there and to be standing right in front and center so that they can focus on me if they need to.
Right.
I did that. I was actually at an event with 500 women. It was a food and beverage, women in food and beverage, and a partner at this big consulting firm, a male, was going to speak about women's issues. And I had no idea because he was so senior. He was terrified.
I love
He
it.
was terrified.
500 women's a little scary.
Right. And I didn't realize that, being a woman, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But what I did is, when I saw where he was going to be speaking, I wanted him to see a familiar face. So I actually climbed over a bunch of people and sat in like the 4th or 5th row, right in the middle, and waved at him and smiled at him. And I could just see his face relax. And every time he would sort of look around the room and realize, oh my gosh, there are 500 people here, he'd kind of come back to me. And afterwards, he came up to me and thanked me and said, seeing your face and being there, I knew you were supporting me, and it made all the difference. So it's little things like that where you can help another person. And they don't forget it,
And I'll tell you that you've said in that statement and how you do that, there's qualities you bring to that shows your kindness that I actually do not have. Like I don't.
I'm sorry.
I am not very patient. So because of that, I have a great reference. This woman, Amy Ayub, her business is called The Zen Speaker.
Yes.
And you know her because your work in the community with her. What I do is refer people to her because that's her trade. She knows how to do that. I'm not that nice. I always say that about me. People will confuse me. They'll say, oh, are you a life coach? No, I am not that nice. And I'm not. I have my personality is too edgy in that regard, but yours is perfectly suited for it. And that's where, I did want to highlight this. It helps. Awareness of who you are, awareness of that strength of kindness being such a strength that it can help others, I think is really the what encapsulates this topic. Yeah. So this has been a wonderful conversation with you. And I just want to close with a quote that I'm not sure if you've heard. This quote came from God to an author, Neil Diamond Walsh, and it is, your life is not about you. Your life is about everyone else whose life you have touched and in the way that you touch it.
Oh, I love that.
Me too. And, it's attributed to God via Neil Diamond Walsh, the author. And I want to close on that. Our system is here to serve us all. We are the instruments of it. The more we change, better the system can become. So help someone and you will know that you will be helping yourself. Laura Pacini, thank you. I'm Andrea Goeglein. Please subscribe and thank you for listening.